I will introduce our speaker for this session. It is Elizabeth Egan. She's the Communications Coordinator for Missourians for Monarch. So take it away, Elizabeth.
Okay. Hi guys, today I'm going to discuss the basic biology of monarchs, habitat necessary for survival, their endangered species listing status, and how you can get involved in monarch conservation. Please note that I will provide links to all the resources discussed. If you would like further information past the Q&A, my email will also be listed in the last slide. It's thinking. There it is. First, let me introduce you to the collaborative. Missourians for Monarchs is a collaborative of conservation and agricultural organizations, government and non-government agencies, utilities, and agribusinesses committed to monarch and pollinator conservation. The collaborative formed in 2015 to address pollinator preservation. In 2016, the collaborative finalized a state conservation plan, making Missouri the first state in the nation to do so. In the plan, the collaborative committed to creating and maintaining 19,000 acres of pollinator habitat annually for the next 20 years. On the screen, you can see all of our members, and we're always adding more. Now that you know a bit more about the Missourians for Monarchs and who we are, let's meet the star of the show. Monarch butterflies are native to the Americas, but can be found on multiple continents. They have a 4-stage life cycle that relies on milkweed for 2 of those stages. Females lay eggs on their host plant, milkweed. This is crucial for development because milkweed is the only plant the caterpillar will eat when it hatches. Once the eggs hatch, caterpillars solely rely on the host plant, milkweed, for the food and shelter. Caterpillars are constantly eating and growing. They'll reach 2,000 times larger than their original size before they form a chrysalis. When the monarch emerges from its chrysalis, it spends a few hours drying its wings and pumping fluids into them. It then looks for its first food source. At this stage, monarchs are reliant on nectar-rich sources to fuel them for mating and migration. So that first nectar source they'll usually reach out to after coming out of the chrysalis is that milkweed. In North America, 2 monarch populations are separated by the Rocky Mountains. Western populations fly down the California coast. Eastern populations are Missouri monarchs, overwinter in Mexico. Monarchs are the only butterfly with an advanced 2-way migration up to 3,000 miles long. This is all the ways from Mexico to the United States up to Canada and back. The phenomena of the monarch migration has baffled scientists and is widely studied. Because Missouri is in the path of the flyway for the entire monarch migration, this region is vital for conservation and pollinator habitat to maintaining the brilliant journey. So please note for this presentation, we're only focusing on the eastern population. Beginning in March, monarchs will travel north from Mexico and into the southern United States. They will mate, then lay their eggs on milkweed. The eggs that hatch from the first generation will continue to travel north once they are butterflies. This cycle will continue all the ways to southern Canada. In August, monarchs will start traveling south to overwintering sites in Mexico. By late October to early November, the last monarchs will be arriving in Mexico. This generation is known as the super generation. Some will have traveled almost 3,000 miles. So that means those little butterflies are flying from Canada to Mexico. That's one butterfly. The super generation will also experience reproductive diapause to conserve energy. They will gain reproductive abilities at the end of their overwintering period and start the migration back north again in March. So that little monarch that goes all the ways, I don't know if you can see my mouse, from Canada down back to Mexico, they will be the overwintering population that in the spring comes back up to Texas. During the past 20 years, monarch populations have decreased significantly. Populations since the 1994 through 1995 overwintering have showed a downward trend with 2015 through 2016 showing a modest increase that was not sustained in 2016 through 2017. In the 1990s, up to 1 billion monarchs made the migration. In 2013 through 2014, the population dropped to 33 million, representing a 90% decrease from the 20-year average. The most recent data shows a 53.22% decrease from the previous season. Only 2.83 hectares were occupied in 2019 through 2020 overwintering sites. For reference, a sustainable monarch population needs to occupy 6 hectares as a minimum. So we're down here in the green, we need to be all the ways up to that 6. Many factors have challenged monarch populations, including habitat loss, recent droughts, climate change, land usage, poorly timed mowing and herbicide applications, and changes to the agriculture systems. A significant decline in nectar sources and milkweed in monarch breeding areas, including Missouri, are also a major threat. The decline in milkweed species is particularly troublesome as they are the only essential for monarch survival. Monarch Watch estimates that around 2.2 million acres of potential milkweed is lost in the United States each year. Without milkweed, there will be no monarchs. Since 2014, states, including Missouri, have been submitting yearly totals of newly created or managed monarch and pollinator habitat acreage to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to provide data to aid in their listing decision. In 2020, the decision to list the monarch butterfly as an endangered species was determined warranted but precluded. So what does that mean? Warranted but precluded. It means the monarch butterfly meets the criteria for listing as an endangered species or threatened species, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service does not have the funding or personnel to devote a listing proposal because there are listing actions higher priority. So what now? The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will review the monarch status each year. If a change in the status is warranted, they can take action. In the meantime, they will continue to work with our partners. And note that any action taken, even if it was listed, it would take quite some time. So we would have time to plan and prepare for producers or anyone who would be affected. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has a whole webpage dedicated to this decision. Here are some of the questions that are frequently asked on the site. And I know a lot of people ask, what are those, which ones are a higher priority? And that's also on here. And I've provided this link in the last slide for you guys as well. So how can you help? You can plant native and plant diverse. Planting with natives can be easy, starting with integrated native beds into your existing flower beds. Convert space at your mailbox on berms or flood-prone areas for natives. Or you can go crazy and convert large parts of your yard. If your HOA still wants a monoculture front yard, pull what we call a mullet. Keep the front yard traditionally manicured, but let the backyard go crazy with natives. Pictured here is a front yard plan for Grow Native. Visit their website for even more designs. Also, that website's on the last page. When planning your habitat, keep in mind what you want it to look like through the different seasons. Habitats should consist of different bloom times, shapes, colors, heights, and nectar sources. The more diverse your habitat, the more pollinators you're going to get. So each pollinator is attracted to a different shape, smell, color of a flower. Monarch specifically, the shape that they're more interested in is kind of those flat shapes that they can land on and stick their cute little noses in. Here's an example from the Xerces Society of native flowering plants that will keep your habitat blooming from spring to fall. Again, no need to remember the table. I have the link in the last slide. When planning your habitat, don't forget the native milkweed. Be sure to incorporate native milkweed species in your garden for plans for monarchs. It is important that these milkweeds are native, as bloom time is crucial to their migration and health. Pictured are some of our favorites in Missouri. Missouri's land is diverse, which means habitat requirements will be different throughout the whole state. Lucky for you, there are plenty of organizations willing to help. On this page, there are just a few. Here are also a few specific resources for creating habitat. The Grow Native Resource Guide provides contacts to native plant sales and local businesses that work with natives. Technical assistance is available through the Find Your Expert tool on Missourians for Monarchs website. All you have to do is type in your county and we'll provide contact information to biologists near you. Do you just need ideas for now though? Missourians for Monarchs also has best management practices available for download. That's also on our website. There are many ways you can support pollinators in your area, in addition to creating habitat. You can volunteer to collect data, become a master pollinator steward, which they have open classes right now, raise awareness in community events, and share your sightings. However you like to support pollinators, we are here to support you. At this time, I'd like to open up to any questions you might have. You can also email me with any specific questions or visit our website for resources. Do we have any questions, Seb?
Excellent. Thank you, Elizabeth. I've been putting the links in the chat so far. I don't see any questions yet, so we'll give people a few minutes to type those in. And
Awesome.
We'll leave the screen up here for you to find them. I'm putting Elizabeth's email in the chat next. While we're waiting, I will also tell everybody that this was recorded and we will have it available with the presentation. And Elizabeth included her slides on the agenda, so you can look through these slides on your own time too and find all the links there.
Here's, let's see if it works. It's thinking. Here's that slide with all those links.
Okay. I've got feedback saying good presentation so far, so that's good. And it was great. It was awesome. It is it's awesome in Missouri how we have so many organizations that are able to help with this.
Absolutely. And that's the point of this collaborative, is bring people from every different walk, every different organization into one place and making sure, you know, we have this one goal, and that's bringing pollinators back.
Absolutely. More feedback saying thank you for all the resources and links. So definitely people were happy to tune in.
Of course. Yeah, and especially contact those biologists in your area, because like I said, Missouri is very diverse. So they'll know, you know, more information on what plants you need specifically for your land. And they can also help you with cost share programs through federal and state government.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome to know that there's a tool for finding the experts, because I know because there are so many across the state who is a source to have.
Yeah.
And actually, one of my other sessions with Josh Marshall was about habitat and talked about some of those programs that you can enroll in for pollinators. So there are plenty of resources out there. And okay, I do have a question now, and it's from Dee. If she was wondering if you would review again the life cycle, specifically how long did they live? So I know there was one slide berries, and it's really fascinating. So I'll let you.
Let me go back real quick to that slide, because I might have. There it is. So the eggs, it's about 4 days. They're caterpillars for about 2 weeks. Chrysalis for about 10 days. And then once they're an adult, it really depends. Like I said, it might be a couple weeks all the way up to multiple months. If it's that super generation that flies, you know, from the northern United States, Canada, all the ways to Mexico over winter, and then they come up through the southern states the next spring.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. Even the shorter lived ones for a couple weeks is longer than most butterflies are around on the
Right?
landscape. So that's why they're super important as a pollinator.
Absolutely. I get back to my contact info.
All right, we'll leave that up there for another minute or two, and then if I don't see any questions, I will close out the session, but we'll give it another minute because
And I'm just going to put I'm going to put a shameless plug in there.
Absolutely.
There's our social media.
Yeah.
Go follow it.
I will do that immediately after this.
Yeah, so we share all the events from all of our members that are related to pollinators, MRBO especially. You guys are one of our members. So it's pretty great.
Awesome. So Emily asks, in addition to decrease in milkweed, what else impacts monarch populations?
So what else impacts monarch populations? It can be shifting weather. So down in Texas this season, we had that deep freeze. That was at the beginning of the migration. We're definitely going to see a change. We presume we're going to see a change in populations this season from that. It's also poorly timed management. So mowing over milkweed whenever caterpillars are on it, or spraying pesticide when it's really windy outside. We want to make sure that if we ever spray pesticide or herbicide, it's direct on exactly what you want to spray. And I can go into more detail on that if you want to email me.
She also had to follow up with, do they
Yeah.
have predators that are also an impact?
Yeah. Not significantly. I mean, obviously, birds and the like are going to eat them. This is kind of one of those reasons that Quail Forever and Pheasants Forever is one of our members, is because quail and pheasants need caterpillars to eat. They need those little bugs. So a sustainable monarch population is going to support a sustainable bird population.
Awesome. And Dee also asked if there's suggestions for water for monarchs. So do they need water features around too?
I haven't heard of that one. If you email me, I can definitely research that and find it out.
That is a good question.
Yeah, that is a really good question.
Because I know there's some in the leaf tissue in the milkweeds for the caterpillars, and there's some in nectar too, but they might need more in addition to that.
Right.
Good deal. Okay, one more comment, I think it is. So Emily also said that she teaches first graders and have raised monarchs from eggs to butterfly in my classroom. I think I did that when I was a kid too. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Eggs and milkweed came from our school pollinator garden. Awesome to have too.
Awesome.
This information helps me to teach my students. So excellent.
Okay, we love hearing that. Yeah, it's definitely a huge impact when the kids can see it, in front of them. They can touch the caterpillars. If you guys are tagging them for Journey North, that would be awesome as well. We can track them, see how far they go. That would be a great project for your kids as well, to see if their monarchs are found.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, the addition of tags is a new one. I think I've heard of that too, where you can try and track
Yeah.
where your school's monarch went is a super cool idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have a question in the Q&A now. We see monarchs, this is from Christy. It says, we see monarchs reproducing late in the season when they would seem to be on their way south. How does this fit into the next north-south migration and diapause?
So diapause can hit anywhere between Canada and Texas. It really depends on what their sources are, what the weather is. Their scientists are still trying to study the migration.
Uh-oh.
And part of that is studying when diapause hits. Can you kind of repeat that question? I feel like I just lost it.
Yeah, you cut out for a second too, but I think we heard it all.
Oh.
It was asking, how does the late reproduction fit into the diapause, into the migration, like the full spectrum, I think.
Okay. So late reproduction, part of that, it's a mystery of nature sometimes. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of a better way to say that other than, it's just the weather will affect them, what's blooming will affect them. They need those signals so that they can go into diapause, and then diapause will save their energy so that they can overwinter.
I think another helpful point to that too, I think
Yeah,
if I remember correctly from your map, there are generations that occur on the way up and on the way down through Missouri,
yeah,
right? So that could be
yeah,
part of it too.
yeah,
So we get a little bit of both because we're kind of in the middle of the.
we are.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's fascinating. I think even in the same region, they are taking these different cues into effect to decide we need to go further north or we need to stop laying eggs and go all the way down to Mexico. It's
right,
fascinating.
right. And it's kind of one of those things of um, we suggest not planting tropical milkweed or types of that sort because it'll bloom for longer periods of time. And that's one of those signals that they need of, okay, my food source is no longer here. I need to keep going. So there's so many different factors that play into that.
Hmm. Okay, so I have another question from Emily. It's a
Mhm.
follow-up to our idea of the tagging, I think, and is what does milkweed monitoring volunteering entail, and is there training provided?
Yes. So there is training provided. This year it's going to be all online. We're creating videos now for it. What it is we will give you a plot of land. You go out to that land and you essentially just tell us how many stems of milkweed are there. We'll train you on how to count them, how to, what supplies you're going to need, and all those sorts. It's super simple. And I mean, I would bring the kids along and do it. It's really fun. I used to do it in college. And we had the hula hoop method where you would just throw a hula hoop, see where it landed, and count the stems that were in it. So it can be as simple as that. And that's one of our options.
Awesome.
So sign up on our website and we'll send you more information.
Good deal. Gotta love citizen science.
So yeah.
All right, I think it's slowing down a little bit, and we have lots of feedback, and I don't want to take up too much more of Elizabeth's time. So thank you again for joining us. And thank you very much, Elizabeth, for this presentation. It was excellent, and we got some great conversation in the end here too. And just a
Awesome.
reminder, this was recorded, and the links are in the presentation that's on the page already, and we'll have the recordings up shortly. I won't give a specific window because there's lots of back end for us to do. Ethan will be doing some wonderful editing for us. So with
Awesome.
that, thank you all for attending, and I'm going to end this session and enjoy the rest of your weekend and the rest of the festival.
All right. Thank you all.